Ukraine's skies remain deadly for Russian aviation, as air defense units confirm the downing of another Su-34 fighter. But beyond denying Russia the air, Ukraine's own air force is keeping up relentless pressure with precision strikes. Armed with Western-supplied GBU-62 glide bombs and French AASM hammer systems, Ukrainian pilots are hitting Russian positions with devastating accuracy. These weapons extend Ukraine's reach far behind enemy lines, combining with air defenses to not only blunt Russian strikes, but also seize the initiative in the air war. A Russian command post is taken out. A precise strike by Ukrainian Air Force once again cleared out a command post and a concentration of Russian forces, including officers. The Phoenix Unmanned Systems Regiment destroyed an MTLB, a tank, an APC, a buggy, a truck, and a car loaded with ammo. Ukrainian drones have become a deadly menace, destroying Russian battle and supply vehicles daily, crippling logistics and grinding down frontline strength. Ukrainian sanctions. Russia's fuel shortage is now hitting Moscow, the suburbs, and even Leningrad Oblast. Lukoil has started banning canister sales at some stations, and businesses are reporting restrictions across the region. Ukraine's military intelligence, HUR, struck Russia's oil terminals in Tuapse and Novorossiysk with naval drones on September 24th, paralyzing major export operations on the Black Sea coast, a source in the agency told the Kyiv Independent the day after the attack. The source said drones targeted key logistics hubs, including Transneft's state-controlled oil loading complex and the Caspian Pipeline Consortium terminal in Novorossiysk, both central to Russia's crude oil exports, including shipments through its so-called shadow fleet. Naval drones targeted key logistics facilities belonging to the aggressor state on the Black Sea coast, the source said. Together, the facilities have an export capacity of 2 million barrels of crude per day. The Caspian Pipeline Consortium confirmed that its Novorossiysk office was damaged in the strike. The consortium, a joint venture of Russian, Kazakh, and international companies, operates a pipeline carrying oil from Kazakhstan's western fields to Novorossiysk's sea terminal. In Tuapse, another port city on Russia's Black Sea coast, Ukrainian drones blew up the oil-loading pier at one of Russia's largest terminals, according to the HUR source. The source said the attack exposed the incompetence of the Russian forces protecting Black Sea ports, with chaotic air defense fire damaging homes, cars, and causing civilian panic. Russian authorities reported 2 deaths and 6 injuries in Novorossiysk, with a local hotel about 2 kilometers, 1.2 miles, from the port and at least 5 nearby buildings damaged. Novorossiysk, situated roughly 400 kilometers, 250 miles, from Ukrainian-controlled territory, has become a crucial base for the Russian Black Sea Fleet after Kyiv's strikes on occupied Crimea. Tuapse, located in Krasnodar Krai, is another vital hub for Russian oil exports, with terminals and infrastructure critical to the country's energy logistics. U.S. President Donald Trump's recent about-face on Ukraine's ability to defeat Russia followed briefings from American officials on the current battlefield situation and a possible future Ukrainian offensive, the Wall Street Journal reported. "I think Ukraine, with the support of the European Union, is in a position to fight and win all of Ukraine back in its original form," Trump wrote on his Truth Social platform, following a meeting with President Volodymyr Zelensky on the sidelines of the UN General Assembly. The statement marked a stunning reversal from Trump, who has repeatedly stressed Russia's military might and prioritized warmer ties with Moscow over aid to Ukraine. In recent days, U.S. officials have briefed Trump about current battlefield conditions and a planned Ukrainian offensive that would require American intelligence support, the Wall Street Journal reported, citing 2 people familiar with the matter. These officials reportedly included Special Envoy for Ukraine Keith Kellogg, seen as the administration's strongest advocate for Ukraine, and the recently appointed U.S. ambassador to the UN, Mike Waltz. The briefing emphasized Russia's failure to make significant territorial gains despite mounting large-scale offensives in multiple regions of Ukraine. While Russia has concentrated thousands of troops in eastern Ukraine, Moscow continues to make incremental gains at the cost of staggering personnel losses. No additional details were provided regarding the planned Ukrainian offensive and the role the U.S. would play in the operation. Ukraine's last major offensive, the surprise Kursk incursion launched in August 2024, ended in Kyiv's withdrawal from most of the captured territory after Russia staged a spring counteroffensive with support from North Korean troops. Ukraine has seen increased success with its long-range strikes against Russia, dealing major blows to Russian oil industry operations and disrupting aviation. Operation Spiderweb, a mass drone strike on Russia's military airfields, reportedly disabled over a dozen heavy bombers and caused billions in damage. While Trump's comments signal a dramatic shift in rhetoric towards Russia and Ukraine, it is unclear to what extent, if any, U.S. policy will substantively change. U.S. Vice President J.D. Vance warned that if Russia refuses to engage in good faith negotiations, the consequences will be very bad for the country. He added that Trump is growing incredibly impatient with Moscow and increasingly convinced the war is damaging Russia.
The Ukraine. Look, I've answered a version of this question probably 100 times over the past 3 months, and one of the things I'll say about the president is that he is responsive to the reality on the ground. And the reality on the ground is that, number one, we have engaged in incredibly good faith negotiations with both the Russians and the Ukrainians, and I believe the president is growing incredibly impatient with the Russians right now because he doesn't feel like they're putting enough on the table to end the war. That's number one. Number two, the president has grown very confident that this war is bad for Russia. You hear me say this all the time. You hear the president say this all the time. The war is bad for Russia. It's bad for Ukraine. It's bad for America. We want the killing to stop. That remains the president's position. But the president also can look at reality on the ground. He sees the economic numbers that are coming out of Eastern Europe. He sees the number of dead people, both Russians and Ukrainians, that are happening in that war. And the president is telling Vladimir Putin it is time to stop the killing. He would say that to Zelensky. In fact, has said that to Zelensky. He wants this war to end, and he's doing everything that he can to stop it. But look, if the Russians refuse to negotiate in good faith, I think it's going to be very, very bad for their country. That's what the president made clear. It's not a shift in position. It's an acknowledgement of the reality on the ground. We're going to keep on fighting for peace every single day in the Trump administration.
In one of the Russian kindergartens, kids were made to stage a scene with a plot in which a mother receives a death notification about her son, who died on the battlefield. Russia instills a war mindset in people's heads starting from a very early age. This is terrifying on so many levels. Russian society is fully engulfed in war propaganda, with even children in kindergartens being fed the narrative. Putin pushes the idea that this is a fight for national survival, but in reality, it's a desperate struggle to save his own position and power.
Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe. Also, if you want to support Warthog Defense, please become our member and get early access to new videos, exclusive members-only videos, and become administrator in comments section. The membership link is in the description.
Every day. We had a guy last week at 6 rescues in 6 days. You know, he's doing the job every day.